Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Unlocked English. It's so nice to have you here again. I hope you're doing well today. Maybe you're relaxing, maybe you're going for a walk, or maybe you're studying while listening to this. Wherever you are, take a deep breath and smile, because today's episode might completely change how you think about learning English. Have you ever felt like English is just too big? Too many words, too many grammar rules, too many expressions to remember? If you have, trust me, you're not alone. Almost every learner feels that way at some point. I used to feel exactly like that. But then something amazing happened. I realized that you don't need thousands and thousands of words to speak English fluently. You can actually communicate, express yourself, and sound natural with around 500 words. Yes, just 500. And in this episode, I want to explain how that's possible, why it works, and how you can do it too. I'll also share my own story, how I use a small number of words to sound more fluent than ever before. So stay with me, relax, and let's talk about the secret power of simple English. When I was learning English, I thought fluency meant knowing everything. I thought I needed to memorize every new word I saw, thousands of them. So I wrote lists of vocabulary every day. I used flashcards. I repeated words again and again, absolutely, consequently, therefore, moreover. But here's what happened. I couldn't actually use those words in a real conversation. I knew them, but I didn't own them. Maybe you've experienced that too. You know the word, you've seen it in a book, but when you need to say it, your mind goes blank. That's not because you're bad at English. It's because you don't need that word yet. Fluency doesn't come from learning more words. It comes from using the right words, the useful ones, again and again until they become natural to you. So one day, I decided to try something new. I told myself, I will only use the words I already know, but I'll use them better. That was the start of my 500-word experiment. At first, it sounded crazy. Only 500 words? That's nothing. But when I started counting, I realized something surprising. Most people use the same small group of words in daily life, again and again. Think about it. How many times a day do you say go, want, need, like good, bad, today, tomorrow? Because, but, or if? We use these simple words all the time in every sentence. Here's an interesting fact. According to studies, the 500 most common English words cover almost 70% of daily conversation. That means if you master those 500 words, you can understand most of what people say in everyday life. You won't understand every detail, but you'll understand the meaning and you'll be able to reply confidently. And that's the goal of fluency, isn't it? To communicate, not to impress. So I began focusing on those 500 words. Instead of learning new vocabulary, I practiced using the ones I already knew in different ways, in different sentences, in real conversations. For example, take the word get. It's such a small word, but it's everywhere. You can say, I get up early. I get tired. I get home. I get better. I get a gift. I get angry. One simple word. Hundreds of uses. If you know how to use get well, your English becomes much more flexible. You don't need receive, obtain, acquire, or attain. Just get. That's the beauty of focusing on a small, powerful vocabulary. You learn to play with the words, not fight them. You stop worrying about big words and start enjoying communication. When I started doing this, something amazing happened. My speaking became faster. My confidence grew. I didn't stop in the middle of a sentence thinking, what's the right word? I just spoke naturally, freely. Do you know that feeling when you finally say something in English and the other person understands you easily? It feels great, doesn't it? That's the feeling I started having more and more. And that's when I understood something important. Fluency is not about how many words you know. It's about how well you use them. Let me ask you a question. Would you rather know 10,000 words but never use them, or 500 words that you can use anytime, anywhere naturally? Exactly. Because the second one is what real communication is made of. Now, let's talk about how you can use this idea in your own learning. How can you actually speak English fluently with just 500 words? It starts with awareness. You need to know which words are truly important. There are many lists online: the Oxford 500, the General Service List, Core Vocabulary 500. But don't worry too much about which one to choose. Just start noticing which words appear again and again in your books, podcasts, or videos. Those are your foundation. When you find a new word, ask yourself, do people actually use this word in daily life? If yes, great, learn it. If not, maybe save it for later. Remember, you want to build a strong core first, a vocabulary that works in any situation. Here's another tip that helped me a lot. When you learn a new word, learn it in a sentence, not alone. For example, don't just learn the word remember. Learn, I can't remember his name. When you do that, you're not only learning vocabulary, you're learning grammar, pronunciation, and rhythm all at once. That's how you make the word part of your natural speaking. Do you ever try to memorize long lists of words and then forget them the next day? That's because our brains don't like memorizing without meaning. We remember things that connect to feelings, stories, or personal experience. So the next time you learn a new word, connect it to your own life. Make it yours. For example, remember, I remember my first English teacher. Forget, I forget my keys all the time. Now those words are not just random. They belong to your story. Let's talk about speaking practice, because that's where everything becomes real. To speak fluently with 500 words, you need to practice expressing big ideas with small language. That's actually a superpower. Let me show you. Imagine someone asks, what do you do? You could say, I am a software developer who specializes in creating mobile applications for small businesses. That's complex. But you can also say, I make phone apps for small companies. Same meaning, simpler words. See? Fluency doesn't mean fancy. It means clear. It means the listener understands you easily. That's the goal of every great speaker, to be simple, not complicated. So when you practice speaking, don't worry about sounding academic or advanced. Focus on connection. Can the person understand what you mean? Then you're fluent. Let's play a little mental game. Imagine you can only use 500 words to survive in an English-speaking country. Could you do it? Yes, you could. You could buy food, talk to people, make friends, ask for help, tell stories, all with basic words. Because communication isn't about vocabulary, it's about creativity. You can say anything if you think creatively. If you don't know the word refrigerator, say cold box. If you don't know vacuum, say clean machine. If you don't know appointment, say time to meet. Native speakers will still understand you, and many will find it charming. That's what I love about languages. You can always find another way to express an idea. You're never truly stuck, just creative. Now, some of you might be thinking, okay, but what about advanced English? What if I want to reach C1 or C2? Good question. Here's the truth. If you master your 500 words, advanced English will come naturally. You'll start noticing new words when you read or listen, and they'll make sense because you already understand the core of the language. It's like building a house. First, you make a strong foundation. That's your 500 words. Then you add the beautiful details later, advanced words, idioms, and expressions. Without the base, the house will fall. So yes, focus on your foundation first, your core English. That's what gives you real strength. Let me tell you something personal. When I started teaching English, I used to think I had to sound smart. I used complicated words, academic phrases, and long explanations. But my students looked confused. So I tried another approach. I spoke simply. And suddenly, they understood everything. They smiled, they relaxed, and they started speaking more. That's when I realized simple English is powerful English. It's clear, warm, and human. And that's the English we use in the real world at work, in travel, in life. You don't need to speak like a professor. You just need to speak like yourself. So here's what I recommend you do. Starting today, every day, take 5 or 10 of your favorite words and use them everywhere. Say them out loud. Write them in sentences. Make short stories. Record yourself using them. You'll see how much easier it becomes to speak. For example, try this with words like go, get, make, do, have, want, need, like know, think. These 10 words are the heart of English. If you can use them well, you can say almost anything. Let's practice together. I need to go. I want to make dinner. I don't know what to do. I like this song. I have a friend who lives in Canada. 500 words. One endless language. Now, let's talk about mindset because this part matters the most. When you focus on a small number of words, some people might tell you that's not enough. But don't listen to that. Remember, language is not a competition. It's a connection. It's not about knowing more. It's about saying more with less. If you use your 500 words with confidence, you'll sound better than someone who knows 5,000 but hesitates every time they speak. Fluency is courage. The courage to speak even when it's simple. And that's something every learner can build. You might be wondering, so how do I find my 500 words? Here's a little plan you can follow. 1. For 1 week, write down every English word you use or hear often. 2. Notice which words repeat again and again. 3. Highlight the ones you use the most. 4. Those are your core words, your personal top 500. 5. Practice them every day, not by memorizing, but by using them. You can make short daily challenges like talk about your day using only your 500 words. Watch a short video and try to summarize it using simple English. Write a journal entry with no big words. The goal isn't to sound limited, it's to become natural. And when your basic words become automatic, you'll start adding more advanced ones without even noticing. Let's imagine something together. Imagine a small child learning to speak. They don't know big words like motivation, opportunity, or challenge. They just say simple things. I like it. I am hungry. I want more. And yet they communicate perfectly. People understand them, they grow. And soon they start learning bigger words naturally. That's how we should learn too, from the inside out. Build your natural base first, and the rest will grow like branches on a tree. When I started using only my 500 words, something unexpected happened. I began to feel English more deeply. I started noticing rhythm, emotion, and tone. I stopped focusing on right or wrong, and I started focusing on connection. And honestly, that changed everything. I remember once I had a conversation with a native speaker. We talked for about an hour about music, movies, life. Afterwards, I realized I hadn't used any big words at all. But the conversation was deep, emotional, and real. That's when I realized fluency isn't about showing knowledge, it's about sharing feelings. Now, before we finish, I want to ask you a few questions. How many English words do you think you really use every day? What if you focused on mastering those words instead of always learning new ones? How would your confidence change if you stopped worrying about vocabulary and started enjoying communication? Think about that for a moment. You already have more English than you think. You just need to unlock it, use it, play with it, live with it. That's the magic of simple language. Let's review what we talk about today. You don't need thousands of words. 500 is enough to speak fluently. Focus on using your words, not memorizing them. Learn words in context with sentences and stories. Practice expressing big ideas with small language. Build confidence through daily speaking and writing. Remember, fluency means connection, not perfection. If you follow these steps, your English will start to feel easier, lighter, and more natural. You'll stop worrying about mistakes and start enjoying every conversation. And one day, you'll realize you're not just learning English anymore, you're living it. Thank you so much for listening to Unlocked English. I hope this episode gave you a new way to see your language journey. Simple, calm, and powerful. Remember, even the biggest journeys start with small steps, or in this case, small words. Keep using your English. Keep speaking. Keep believing that less can be more. And soon you'll see you don't need more words. You just need your words. I'm proud of you for being here, for learning, and for growing with me. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind to yourself, and keep unlocking your English. Bye for now.